People have been recommending this channel to me. This is Gecko Squirrel. I wouldn't say a small channel, you know. I haven't heard of him personally. And when I was looking through just like video titles and stuff, I saw this about Celestial, and I actually think Celestial is a pretty good rank system. There's a lot of stuff I like about the rank system in this game compared to other games. And his video is called Celestial's Flawed and Annoying. So let's check it out.
Let's talk about the tower. In Strive, there's a place known as the tower that is divided into 10 floors. Each floor is a room with matchmaking setups for people to play. While the tower is not directly considered ranked matchmaking by the developers, the community have looked upon it that way, with people using the floor they are on to justify their skill. A lot of the time when I talk
Spitting.
players, especially new players, they'll talk about the floor that they're on and how they're either proud of it or they're disappointed and struggling to reach the next floor.
The floor thing is like when people are like, "Oh, I've played for 200 hours, 400 hours." It's like the same thing. That's all I hear when I hear people say that.
Does the system technically work? Yeah. It creates an environment where the people that they're going to be fighting are of similar skill and people can't come down to beat them up. The only time they can't run away is when they finally get to that other person's floor. Does it always feel fair? No. Since the game has no proper version of placement matches, you are forced into either floor 4, 5, or 6 and have to battle your way up or down the floors depending on your skill. If you're someone who's played fighting games other than Strive, you're probably going to blitz your way up the tower and ruin some people's sessions while doing it. If you haven't, then you're either gonna stay where you are or plummet to the first floor.
I think there's actually nobody in the first floor. I don't know if he's gonna mention that though. When you start a new account, you just speedrun your way to the top. It's not I don't feel like you're gonna ruin someone's day. It's just like after a couple games, you're moving up like really, really fast.
The closest thing we have to a matchmaking system in Strive is the game putting you against somebody else who is readied up in the same floor as you. But this video isn't a critique on the entire tower itself. This video is for me to rant about the place beyond the clouds. The Celestial floor is the secret 11th floor in Guilty Gear Strive. Once you've won a lot of matches in floor 10, you gain access to be a Celestial floor challenger. In this challenge, you have to win 5 matches in Celestial without losing more than once. If you win 5 matches, you become a member of the Celestial floor for the rest of the month, and you're able to enter freely and lose as much as you'd like. If you lose twice before getting those 5 wins, however, well, you're going back down to floor 10, dumbass. Come back when you got some real skills. The state at which a player is good enough to hit the challenger status reliably but not good enough to break through and become a Celestial member is generally referred to as floor 10.5.
I have never heard it called 10.5. It's like Elo Hell, I guess, though, right? That's something I remember hearing about from League. Elo Hell? Any League players?
As you're constantly bouncing between the 2 floors trying to break through. Since Celestial doesn't have a cap on the amount of players that can actually be in it at one time, it's much easier to get into Celestial the further in the month you try, as more people win the Celestial Challenge each day, so the player pool and thus the skill pool gets wider. I generally say that after the first 1 or 2 weeks, it becomes much easier to get in. Check when tournaments are on in your region, especially online ones. If you see a big tournament happening that day, wait until the tournament starts and then go to Celestial. This removes the strongest players as they'll be deep in the tournament for most of that time, and
I'm in the abyss.
all of these techniques work by reducing the skill floor so you can fight players who aren't as skilled, or reducing the chance that you're going to run into top tier players who haven't lost a single set in 4 months? Jesus Christ, Latif, what the fuck? Now, the reason you want to reduce the potential skill floor is obvious, but the skill ceiling is a bit more questionable. Like, surely in this modern fighting game, the matchmaking system will 100% make sure I do not get matched against literally the best players of characters in my region, or possibly the entire world, while I'm attempting to make it into Celestial, right? This means, unless you directly pick your matches, you're going to be fighting anyone within the skill range of the lobby, which, considering that the majority of players finish their Celestial Challenge and then go and play in the parks or with friends, is a massive skill range. Because of this, trying to find a match in Celestial that doesn't feel one-sided is extremely hard. Like, okay, you got like 5 types of people in Celestial, right? You got the floor 10.5 people giving it another go, the people who just barely made it out of 10.5, the middle guy, the high-level competitive players who get top 16 big online tournaments, and the best players in the region. Now, if you've ever actually played against any of the top players in your region, you probably know how much better they are than basically everyone else. Like, it doesn't even feel close.
I'm waiting to see if he's gonna hit a point, basically, because there's a feeling I have about Celestial and why I like it. It looks like he's really leaning into the gap in skill in Celestial is too wide, which I've heard many people talk about. And he even leaned with like, oh, here are ways you can get in Celestial either. That I felt was like, oh, that's like the gamer energy of like how do I just do the challenge that the game is telling me to do, you know what I mean? Because I know some people are like, yeah, like they're really just trying to get it, you know, like a progress check. Like it's like what, less than 10% of players have Celestials, like 7% or something.
And by just playing a bunch of matches against players who are better than me, I've started winning more. I can sometimes give a top 16 contender a run for their money. But being at this part kind of sucks because on the rare instances I do get a match where the skill level is extremely close, I have an amazing time. But they're beginning to feel few and far between due to the fact that I have to search them out or hope the game randomly puts us against each other. But why do I keep playing? The game's been out for nearly a year at this point, and while I've been actively playing, I consistently hit Celestial. I've proven I'm at least good enough to get in every month, but I want to prove that I'm good enough to stay there every month. But this leads to a bigger problem. Fuck grinding for these auras, bro. Fun.
All right. I get him there. I want to go to the end before I add all my comments because I basically I don't think he's gonna go to the spot where I think of Celestial.
Did you know that no one really knows exactly when you get an aura? Like, you would think that they had something to do with the rating board because the colors of the aura can somewhat be tracked to the colors on the board, but no, people thought it was at the top % of players in Celestial. But I can prove that wrong because I was top 500 last month and I have no fucking aura. And the worst bit is the fact that the only thing it's based on is games won. This doesn't sound bad, but it indirectly rewards time invested instead of skill. If you really wanted to, you could grind 8 hours a day while still being below the average skill level in Celestial and get enough wins to get an aura at the end of the month. It would suck because you're losing a lot, but you could do it, and since it doesn't factor in win rate, it's entirely possible because who else is grinding 8 hours a day? At this point, Arxis, I'd rather just have a ranked matchmaking system.
So I have a few thoughts. So one, I also would not mind an old school ranked match system, but I think Celestial's woke, actually. The people who are in that, I never heard it called Floor 10.5 before, but the people who are kind of like going back and forth between Celestial challenges and 10, I don't think they should ever add an extra floor ever, actually. And the main reason is, yeah, you have to think about like what does Celestial mean? Like, why is it like that? Right, so Celestial is a place where you can play just forever, basically. Like, you won't get kicked out if you made it for the whole month. The spread of skill is wide, but it's not everybody. And then when you look at the percentage of players who are in it, it's like 5 to 7% of players, right? So the way I actually look at Celestial is it's the arcade lobby of BlazBlue. Like, it's just an open lobby. It's an arcade. Everyone is at least I've never heard it called Floor 10.5. No, not once. Never, not once have heard that. I guess it's more common than I think that, because when I heard that, I was like, the fuck's Floor 10.5? But if people in the future are like, you never heard it called that, that means I'm out of that. I think of it as like the open arcade. It's really choose your own adventure once you're in there, you know what I mean? You get to play just such a wide skill level, and you get to choose what you play against, you get to choose what you feel like doing. I think it's really good that people have the chance to have access to higher level play if they want. It's literally like, it's like going to locals is the way I always thought of it. It's like when you go to your local, so let's say I go to Philadelphia a good amount to play, you know, there's a lot of tournaments there, both local, of all sizes, local, regional, and major tournaments, all in this city, right? At the local level, for the games I tend to play, like, let's say you've never showed up, so you play some people, even, man, some people are really good, and then you don't know if, like, because it's like Punk's from Philly, for example, right? Like, Punk could just be there because he's from Philly. Or I went to college in Philly, so I could just be there. Sometimes I'm there, so I just show up. You don't know. It reminds me really of like an offline setting, like any arcade, local, regional, major, something like that. And I think it's good. I actually think it is good. People care about the title a little bit too much, but, you know, that's gamer shit, you know. It seemed like it was a combination of, like, kind of feeding into people's feelings about that. You gotta understand, like, if they add an extra floor, too, this is another thing. If they add an extra floor, I think it'll thin out the floors too much, and having the, like, that big of a spread makes the floors always look like they're full and popping, which is, I think, a good thing. I don't know how you guys feel, though. I kind of disagree with this one. I kind of disagree with this one. I kind of like Celestial. Besides the obvious shit, like the arcades don't fucking work. it depends on how you approach that feeling once you go into that environment, right? Because it all circles back to, what do you prefer when practicing and learning? Do you prefer playing someone a lot better than you, or playing someone your skill level? A lot of people would answer the latter. My answer is, I would just play anybody. I just want to play everybody, frankly. It really is up to you. Still well edited, you know, it's good stuff. Check them out if you want.